Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unroaded. This is a short visual novel with, I think it said 4 endings in one of the reviews, so I'm hoping to get all of them. We'll see. But it's supposed to be set in sort of like a very bleak world, and you play as, I think, a soldier who died and is now sort of just like brought back to life as a husk that's sort of traveling the world. And that's pretty much all I know. I'm really excited. It has really good reviews. It's free. We all know how much I love free games at this point. Dude, a free game, just sign me up at this point. But I'm very excited. Let's just get started. Someone in one of the reviews also said that the sound design was really good. Do I click? Ooh, I do. Okay. Sickness and death are blowing from the nauseous yellow sky. The clouds, light, ghostly, are frozen, as if the time came to a halt where there is no life. The vagrant sits on the wall of a half-ruined fortress and tries not to look at this sick sky that evokes anguish, that disturbs the echo of the mind, like the living ones have. There is no way out. Windows are crammed with boards, doors are buried into the earth for centuries, but he is in no hurry to leave. A day, a week, a month, he sits, looks far away, then time starts to lose meaning, disappears, until the wall begins to crumble. Sooner or later, he will fall, so it better be on his own terms and not from the fault of the crumbling stone. He rises to step forward. The wind doesn't whistle in the ears. Eyes don't water. The ground is approaching, but his heart does not beat in fear. He falls to the dusty ground and crumbles to a bunch of bones, followed by the ringing sound of the armor, and then silence takes its place. Slowly and indifferent, the vagrant sits down and begins to gather himself by the pieces. Wrist to a forearm, a hand to a clavicle. Not a speck of blood to be seen. The vagrant creaks with his jaw. The war lasted for decades, and he was one of its many victims. When the prince's armies started getting diminished, commanders of both sides engaged with otherworldly forces. Fallen warriors rose once again and charged into battle. They fought mindlessly, tirelessly. And yet the war saw its end. But her soldiers haven't. Only the lifeless lands full of dead men remained. The vagrant fed the fire with the orders issued to him before the first battle, throughout his helmet on which royal symbols once shined proudly, and smeared in the resin clothes that were copying the colors of the place that once was his homeland. For having forgotten someone's bright face 100 years ago, for that now he feels nothing except sore bitterness for the nauseous yellow sky. The magic of death has turned this world into a mass grave. How was it like before? The vagrant doesn't remember. The last thing memory clings to is the name. He had a name once, short, proud, sounding, simple, and quite common, but it belonged to him. Name that no one needs. As well as torn, trampled flags that were left behind. He doesn't have the strength to be the man he once was. He can still hold his sword with his hands, but not alone, no way. Loneliness is what drives him insane. It's not the fortress that no longer stand, or fortresses, my bad. Not the lack of feelings, not the frozen time, but awareness of himself, alone, as if he was the last. Where is everyone? Ours, another's, no matter. If only they were. With non-existent eyes, the vagrant observes the triumph of death at this desert field spreading far away. He must find the answer. The road stretches monotonously. The vagrant doesn't notice how the scenery changes. Abandoned settlements are passing by, and naked forests are greasing with the clouds. Time sinks in, spreads like a thick fog over his mind, muddles hours with days, and comes to life only when silhouettes appear on the way, the figures of other dead men. The fights are not different from one another. They are sluggish, but they beat off in seconds in the mind like thunder. Block, counterattack, again and again. Why do they attack? He always waits and defends himself. He wants to see the life, half-forgotten word. It's so difficult to recognize it now. Only the mind will tell. Only a lowered sword, only an attempt to get to know each other. The dead men don't remember themselves. They charge into battle mindlessly, so the vagrant crumbles them to dust, hoping that he is freeing their souls. Then time freezes again, turning the path into a sequence of pictures. Black smoke splits the gloomy sky, and the vagrant follows it. He doesn't care about the path. Some part of him remembers the outlines of the hills. It's the borders. He leaves his kingdom, his home, and these thoughts suddenly become meaningless. There are no borders now, and he won't recognize his home as well. He desperately tries to recall someone's bright face, and he can't. But does it mean anything now? Will the memories of happiness serve him well in this time, in this place? Will they give him a sense of time? Or maybe they'll be the only thing that won't let him give up? Ooh. First choice. Okay, so far, the writing is awesome. I really like this. Whenever I go into a visual novel, I always feel like it sort of goes one of two ways. It either goes like very real worldly literal, or it goes a little bit more like surreal figurative in a sense, and this is on that second spectrum. I think this is very like poetic and not quite as literal. A lot of it is just sort of like feelings and ideas that it's conveying to you, and I really like that. I'm not saying one or the other is better, but I'm just saying that I think the writing in this is really good so far. And the concept is really cool. I really hope there's a little bit more like world building as we go. I know it's a shorter game, so there might not be. But so far, really intriguing with a war being fought. It seems medieval because they're speaking about princes and things like that. Swords, that sort of thing. And they brought soldiers back to life by like otherworldly powers, which is like... yeah, I'm down for that for sure. So this is... shoot, I don't know if I can save, can I? Oh, no, I can't. Okay, I just want to save so then it's easier to get different endings. So I saved. Let's trust the feelings. The vagrant doesn't know. No one could tell him what awaits ahead, so he asks his past for the strength. The tips of her lips rise. Is this a smile? And he feels better. He continues his path, reflecting on how it was like before, and ignores the formidable clouds that gathered overhead. Coal ash is spreading in all directions. Twice burned land, he recalls, and looks at the new fire. Fire is dancing freely but sleepily. It stretches to the sky and settles, breathes to its full height, leans, burns clouds, and clings to the ground. Dead men are gathered around the fire, nude, charred. They enter the scarlet flame and lie in the heat of the fireplace, one by one, slowly and impassively. Then they rise and leave the fire, sharing it with the rest. The vagrant breathes the ashes and doesn't feel the fire's warmness. The flesh burns and bubbles. There is no smell. Ooh, our first dude? Dead men notice the vagrant, but don't stop. Only one of them still has a tongue left, and he tries to speak. The self-burners. Get in line. His voice is dry. There is no sadness or pain in it, only indifference. What are you doing? Get in line. We are killing ourselves. We share the fire because it can't be found anywhere near. We don't want to go anywhere. We don't want to look for another fire. After all, the one is right here. Even if it's small. Some have already freed themselves. Others burn themselves little by little to give others chance to die. What if the fire goes out? We need to share. Get in line. Hmm. Ooh, I'm gonna do another save. Okay. Let's do as he says. Let's get in line. Maybe this is the answer. Maybe the vagrant is losing himself. He doesn't want to be alone. This is madness. So he gets in the line. It rains, the sun dries the earth, but the vagrant stands in line, obediently, motionless. Among those like him, he examines them and gets calmer. When his turn comes, he undoubtedly enters the fire. Flames envelop him, burn his clothes, and blacken his armor, all the way to his muscles. The bones start getting charred. He looks back at his black wrists and doesn't attach any importance to it. Soon the bones will die too. He thinks so, but before his time is up, the fire dissipates. The vagrant leaves the fire in a hurry, yet it continues to melt. The flame slowly weakens until its complete extinction over time. This is his fault. Dead men are standing still for a long time, and then someone silently leaves. Someone falls to the ground. What else can they do? Alone again, the vagrant breaks down with a scream. The fire didn't even get close to his throat. His scream soars high into the sky and dissolves into silence. Then, without saying goodbye, he leaves too. The conflagration? Something like that. Lasts for a long while. Its size is the 3 risings of the sun, which the vagrant hasn't noticed until now. Light and darkness used to be the same for him. Now he counts the days. At night, he decides to stop. He doesn't need to rest, but it makes the way easier. He looks at the stars and gives them names. Words come up by themselves. A bird, a pearl, a maiden, a shield, and a smile. Her smile. Morning leads him to a lifeless city. The fog winds over the thickets of a dry river. The vagrant raises his head with the hope of seeing a flag waving over the towers, but their silhouettes are still. He carefully invades the abode of calmness. Silence envelops the city. Only the spare howling of the evil wind can be heard. This place is like an echo of a bygone time, and the vagrant decides to call it that way. Echo. Perhaps when the city ends, the sadness that had settled in his heart will also disappear. Once this place brought people joy. Memories sneak up like an annoying melody. He gives into it. He remembers loud conversations and bustling. Wagon wheels are knocking along the crowded streets. The child steals an apple from the basket of the lady that is going home. She doesn't notice. She looks at the vagrant. Playful smile. The vagrant turns away only because someone is waiting for him at home. How can you call life what he is living now? The vagrant wants to go home. He stumbles over something and barely keeps himself away from falling. Lowering his gaze, he sees that a dead man lying under some broken slabs had blocked his way. The knee raised from a footbed slowly goes down. Footboard. Why did you do that? The vagrant examines the face under the helmet. Neither skin nor muscles can be seen. Only bones. The dead man can't answer. He doesn't even move. Try to reach out to him or leave him alone. Okay. Saving once again. Let's try reaching out to him. He tried to trip me. And for what? I want to help you. The vagrant doesn't have time to notice how the dead man's hand is rising. He swings and throws at the stranger, his second hand. The vagrant dodges. Seek for the fire. It can bring the last death. He doesn't receive an answer. But the dead man rises, creaking with his bones, and leaves. Perhaps in a search of the fire. From the heart of the city, chants can be heard. The vagrant walks over the overgrown stone slabs and doesn't listen. It's all in his head. He finds a chapel and steps inside with caution, examining the rotten wooden beams. The ceiling is still holding. How many prayers have these walls heard? How many of them did God hear? Has anyone survived this war? A steady knocking sound comes from somewhere. The vagrant follows it and finds himself in the chapel's basement. He sees 3 dead men. One stands against the wall and beats the stone with his head. His skull is full of cracks. Looks like he's been doing this for a long time. The other two sit beside him and watch. Ooh. Oh, the art is so cool. I love this art style. It's awesome. Newbie. Another. Won't last. A toe. The dead man that spoke last tears his little finger from his foot and puts it on the barrel where a hand is already placed on. Did they bet on the vagrant? Too soon. This one is still alive. A loud crack. The skull of the dead man that was beating his head against the wall finally cracks. His body falls limply to the ground, raising a heap of dust. The first dead man laughs hoarsely and takes the hand. Won again. You always bet on death. Because there can be no other outcome. It can. No one needs immortality. Our fate is another's search for immortality. Their strange dialogue suddenly stops. They turn to the newcomer. Say goodbye to the toe. Already. How long have you been wandering? With delay, the vagrant realizes that the last phrase was addressed to him. He doesn't move, looking at these odd dead men, and starts thinking about what to answer. Sentient. For the first time. Sentient. I don't remember the time. What are you playing? Making bets. We are making bets. Everyone dies. There are no losers in this game. When I have spare bones, I bet on life. And then I get new bones. And what are you doing? It's not easy to get used to their speech. They seem to snatch out only the meaning of their thoughts. I'm looking for someone like me to save myself from madness. Madness awaits us all. Play. Nothing more is needed. We won't become alive. We won't regain our feelings. We will never have love again. No one needs this kind of existence. There is no meaning. Therefore, seek for the last death, or play. Ooh. Okay, saving again. There's a lot more choices than I actually thought there would be. Usually, like, really short visual novels don't have a whole lot of choices. So, this is kind of cool. I kind of like it. Let's see, what happens if I argue? I kind of want to see. I will find my own meaning, and if it disappoints me, I'll look for another one. Because life is an opportunity to make a choice, and I won't deny my life as long as I remember who I am. After listening to him, the dead man remains silent for a long time. And then the second one takes his little finger back. Lucky. Boring. They really had bet on him. The disturbed dust lazily hovers over the stone. In the lifeless silence, Peel's mumbling. Oh, in the lifeless silence, okay, I couldn't read that. Peel's mumbling, mixed with a sigh of one of the debaters. The second one snorts as if in response. Dead men don't need to breathe. These are feelings. They have them. They don't understand. Do you remember your names? We all have no past. Now no one has a name. Names are no longer needed. Again. I'm gonna name them. They need some names. I need them so I can distinguish you. Maybe Ben and Bean? Ben and Bean? Hell yeah. Who is Ben? Who is Bean? I like Ben. Then I am Bean. The second one turns toward the vagrant. And who will be you? The vagrant. Such a hypocrisy. Saddled us with names but refused to take one. No, wait. The vagrant. Ben, Bean, and the vagrant, Fine. The dead men get distracted by their previous victim. What will overgrown with moss faster, he or his clothes? I will, but if we bet on those who are really dead, let's get out of here, seek for others. Is Vagrants coming with us? No, thinks too much. Will spoil the game. But we'll meet again. If he won't die. Friends? They look at him again. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, we're buddies. The vagrant nods. Perhaps someday their paths will converge. Then he won't mind having friends, even though he doesn't understand what that word means. He hopes these two will help him find out, one day. The three leave the basement and their paths diverge. The debaters are going away from the sun. They no longer need this city, and the vagrant continues his way to the ruins' depths. There where is no one else. There where is no... Words. Nothing happens. Stone walls dissolve the world into grayness, and when they end, only the sky remains, the same gray. The mad dead men are getting bigger. They attack without asking questions. Their hands never tremble. Their faces are always unreadable. The vagrant doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to save them either. He doesn't care about the reason for their madness, whether it was the death magic or weakness of their mind that didn't accept the new existence. They have no hope of salvation. Or he wants to think that way. Where once was a heart hurts with heartache. He gets tired of timelessness. When no one is around, the body feels cumbersome, the mind unnecessary, and existence itself is like a joke of an evil god. Why did you lock me up in empty infinity? He does not receive a response. He knows that he won't get it by asking someone inside himself. Yearning insensibly turns into anger. So I got distracted by the pretty colors. The vagrant gets angry at the silence, at the mindless, who are dressed in the same armor as he is, gets angry when he is again forced into battle. Soon he begins to attack first. Each new battle takes him more than the previous one. Anger starts to become the goal. He is looking for rivals. He wants to tear apart the armor, cut the tendons, smash the bones. He is eager to watch the last moment of someone else's existence, how the weapon falls from the hands of the defeated enemy. And one day he loses. The last death does not come because the other dead men didn't think about crushing the enemy into dust. He just left him behind when he stopped moving. The sun runs endlessly across the sky, and the vagrant lies in the faded grass, confusing himself with the dead. Stars are born in the dark and die with the forthcoming of light. Why is the sun doing this? Why killing the stars? Thoughts break off, turning into something unclear. At the place of the heart, it aches. Feelings return to him with the memory of the war during his lifetime, and the vagrant gives in to them. He screams to the sky, to the midnight, and then he gets bored. He forces himself to get up and move on. He picks up the sword but ceases to fight, falls when attacked, waits, then continues on his way. He is already far from the place of his death and even farther from home. When will he find what he is looking for? The sun has time to set as much as the vagrant has markings on his sword's sheath, which were made, apparently, when he was still alive. It's almost completely covered with them. They are not enough. The vagrant starts recounting. Once again. The earth changes its color. It grows with a stone. Trampled paths wander through a maze of rocks and find their end among the lights. Wrecks of armor are lying around. And is this a camp? 5 figures in black armor sit around the fire. Helmets are covering their faces, and skulls are scratched on their shields. Humans? No, it cannot be. The vagrant realizes that he is right. The knights do not move, do not breathe, just stare into the fire, fascinated, as if nothing else surrounds them. The bonfire makes dying logs sing, and they sing almost invitingly. Or it's a delusion, and it's just the twiddling wind. The vagrant doesn't even have time to move slightly forward towards the warriors before one of them turns his head. That looks so cool! A new executioner has visited us. His voice is low, humming, more alive than those of the vagrant has met so far, but there's something deranged about it. Without waiting for the newcomer's answer, another knight asks doubtfully, "Or a new victim?" No, look at him. He wants to die, but still fights. Frozen, they look at the vagrant. "Will you join us in our noble goal?" "Who are you, and what is your goal?" "We are the executioners. Life has rejected us, so we have rejected all living things." Ooh, the Grand Executioner. That's a sick name. I'll say it. When the first war started, our time was taken by countless battles. When the second war started, we were called out from the realm of the dead to kill again, and when there was no one left, we were abandoned. You speak of 2 wars. I only know of 1. Twice burned land, for the first time by the fault of our foolishness, for the second of our despair. But nothing would have happened if not for the necromancer. He pitted 2 principalities against each other, with the intricacies and intrigues to see the war. He came to both princes and offered them death magic. When the armies were exhausted and the lands grew poor, the lords accepted his help. Who is this necromancer? We do not know. We are seeking. Revenge will not take long. The necromancer must pay. In pursuit of him, we will destroy all living things, because war is what he created us for. Our prince is forgotten. Our children lie in graves with fools and cowards who fled from death to fire. We will not allow ourselves to fall so low. Pain is our strength. When we burn the necromancer, we will burn this world, so that there will be no more stupidity, so that there will be no more despair. Life is a mistake. That's pretty grim, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really agree with that, man. Life is not a mistake. The warriors stay silent. They are not going to argue. They have their own truth. How many years have they been guarding it? For them, it's more important than their own souls. Reflections of fire dance on the black steel of their armor, diverting attention away from the heavy stairs. What do they need the fire for? Don't they despise it? Or maybe this is why they huddle around the bonfire as if they were still alive. They're testing their will, their spirit. After all, fire can provide peace. Everything that all the dead men actually need. If you are not with us, leave. You must burn. Ooh. You know, I don't think I will. Despair devours from within. The vagrant turns away and silently leaves. The foothills follow him with scarlet clouds. This place is too peaceful. The wind walks freely and carefree. It doesn't bluster or howl, only touches the grass gently and retreats to the sky as if it's afraid to do harm. Clouds gather and crumble as white dust, and when night falls, jumbles with the stars. The markings on the sheath become useless. Why do you need time if all there is an endless way? The living ones need time to remember about death. Instead of thinking about the days, the vagrant thinks about the silence of the morning, about the beauty of the sun at sunset, about how he tried to name the stars once. It returns to him imperceptibly. One day he catches himself in thoughts. Even from here you can see them. A bird, a pearl, a maiden, a shield, and a smile. The image appears in front of him more clearly than ever before, and he focuses on the memories. This is something very important he must remember. A bird on the emblem of a family tree, same one on a green robe, pearls glisten on the neck. Auburn hair flows over strong shoulders. Steel is in the glance of gray eyes, but smile illuminates the face. Like that she was, a warrior from distant, wild lands. Then the war began, and she fought under enemy banners. He did not run away, even though he wanted to do that more than anything else. Every day he prayed to the gods not to meet her on the battlefield. They did not hear his prayers. At the day he killed her, time stood still. On the same day, he allowed to kill himself, and rose up already without memory. The vagrant covers his face with his hands as if he wants to cry, and for a long time sits in silence. There is a cape near the road. After the precipice, there is nothing, only a naked bottom that remained after a dried-up river. At the edge of the cape, boulders are overgrown with perennial moss. It takes time for the vagrant to notice a figure in the gray-yellow robe. Someone is sitting on the precipice with his head bowed. The vagrant walks closer and sits next to the stranger, dangling his legs into the precipice. He doesn't speak until he is noticed. Oh? I've lost myself in thought. It becomes possible to understand that this is a dead man only due to the finger bones that peek out from his holy gloves. His face is hidden behind a mask, and multi-layered clothing wraps his whole body. Something in him reveals that he is a good fighter. The vagrant doesn't know what it is exactly, only that the feeling doesn't leave him. It's better not to meet with this one in open battle. Who are you? The vagrant. So you don't remember your name, too. And what should I call you? Others called me a philosopher. I guess you can, too. He emanates calmness. It's not so cold and indifferent compared to all the other dead men who the vagrant had met so far, but as if there is no one here. How can it be? The vagrant stretches his hand slowly so that the stranger doesn't get frightened and touches his shoulder. Dead bones cannot transmit feelings, but the hand hits an obstacle. Not a vision after all. The stranger doesn't react to the gesture. What are you doing here? Nothing. How is that? I'm thinking. This is an action for the world of the dead. What are you thinking about? About water, earth, sky. What else can you think about while being dead? About your grief? That's a one-way ticket to oblivion. Why are you wearing a mask? So many questions. My face has been eaten away by death and time. Those who remain conscious do not need to see it. The wind sings in a hollow. The philosopher responds to its song with a quiet humming. An awkward melody brings unwanted memories. This is an anthem. And something in this humming sounds terribly familiar. You remember it too, yes? I'm gonna say yes. I remember, although I do not know why. Behind the cold mask, the vagrant feels a smile. You all remember it. There are no names, no past, but each one of you remembers the anthem. You speak as if you are not one of us. I am not one of you. Not really. It was not the necromancer's actions that caused my curse, and I remember everything. Do you remember why the war started? Who we were, and why did we fight? Yes. Tell me. One prince stole something from another. Frightened that he would find out, the first one unleashed a war, to be the first. The second prince found out about the theft when bloody rivers were already flowing, and things got even worse. I wish I could say that the rumors led the necromancer to the lords, that it was his evil tongue that provoked the first war, followed by another one. Isn't he guilty for the fate of the dead men wandering everywhere? It was the work of his hands, but the blame for human deaths lies with the princes to the same extent. After all, it was they who agreed to make a deal with evil. The necromancer had unattainable dreams. He demanded the impossible from one of the princes, and that one nonchalantly agreed. When the prince refused to comply with his demands, the necromancer went to another one. A similar story happened there. As a result, both principalities ended up with an army of uncontrolled dead men under their wing. But to that time, the necromancer didn't care. They betrayed him, so he left, watching the principalities fall with a clear conscience. And to some extent, he was right. The philosopher laughs quietly. What was it that he demanded? What was that he demanded? Won't tell. His goals may seem great, but all he has achieved is countless deaths. No idea can justify such actions. Although the princes are as guilty as the necromancer, if he had not intervened, you would get by with one war, and you wouldn't be here now. And where am I? On the way to the necromancer. Ooh. Didn't you notice that you always go forward, as if something is calling you to move on without you realizing where to? But you do know. Something is waiting for you beyond the sun. The vagrant remembers a maiden with a shield, dying on his hands, and his thoughts are empty. He doesn't hear the song, only his grief. He confesses, no. And yet you follow his call. He sings to you. He sings to everyone. He summons the remaining stray dead men to himself. He wants to fix what he has done. By killing all of us? Yes. The philosopher laughs again, and the vagrant becomes scared for a moment. He managed to forget this feeling, to be scared, and didn't recall about its existence since he realized that he is dead. However, it was not death that scared him. The one who sows death regrets his wrongdoings. All of this is hard to accept. I understand. Even I once believed for a long time that everything is more complicated than it seems, but the reality is always more prosaic? Prosaic. I'm not sure. Evil is everywhere. The necromancer did not understand this. How do you know so much? I was his friend. Silence comes, and it lasts for many days. Under the vagrant's bony knees, flowers get the time to grow. At some moment, shattered skulls and fragments of black armor fly into the precipice. The vagrant recognizes the executioners in them, those who had sworn to kill the necromancer and destroy all living things. By the hands of the philosopher, they found peace. I was his friend. The vagrant doesn't ask anything. Everyone wants to save something. He begins his journey in search of others. He wanted to talk, and to listen, and to feel. Now the philosopher is beside him, and time belongs to them. The vagrant talks about what happened. About how he tried to burn himself. How he gave names to the 2 sentient dead men. And, after hearing the executioners, refused to give up. He doesn't face approval or dispraise, so he feels relieved. The philosopher tells him about the cemeteries that have turned into flower fields, about the music of silence, about the stars. The living ones have bodies and feelings. They do not need a meaning. What about the dead? Is this life worthy of pursuing? So many reflections, opinions, and words. The philosopher asks questions to which the vagrant does not know the answers. One thing is clear for both of them. The necromancer will not back down, and this means that no one will have the opportunity to find the answers to these questions. Only when the vagrant notices the rust on his armor, he realizes that years have passed. And the philosopher gets to know each other. He and the philosopher get to know each other too well. The moment of parting comes. Getting used to loneliness again is not so difficult, because the vagrant is calm. He preserves this calmness and carries it with him the rest of his way. Going down the hollow that frowns under the weak sun, the vagrant finds a deep hole. The tunnel leads to some caves left by long-dead underground creatures. He finds their large bones and almost rejoices that he doesn't have to fight them. The tunnels are damp, and the wind howls within. Moisture settles on the armor. The living ones couldn't breathe here with ease. Light is being replaced by darkness, and each step spreads an echo. No need to get used to the dark. The vagrant listens. Listens to his footsteps, droplets that crash upon hitting the stones. The song. It beckons him almost imperceptibly. This is an anthem, and someone's yearning. Lost days, ruined fates. No regrets, no repentance, but I must fix it. Closer and closer. It will end soon. The caves cease with the basement of a fortress. Corpses lie everywhere. Stumps, bones, eyeless heads. The earth is black of the flesh that mingles with mud. They too followed the call. The vagrant leaves the basement, intentionally striding louder. He rattles with the armor and sends away fear. Give me the answers. The stranger's presence originates a wave of warmth. The necromancer is a living flesh, the heat of breathing and the smell of blood. His head is covered with black cloth. Dress tails are dragging around the ground, ragged and full of holes. He speaks, but does not look at the vagrant. Always have to wait so long. Tired, I'm so tired. He is blind. The hall that surrounds them is almost empty, and the necromancer isn't afraid to fall. He feels the vagrant and unhesitatingly walks towards him as if he was sighted. The vagrant retreats far enough to make it clear that it's not his intention to fight. The necromancer takes a sharp breath and freezes. The song breaks off. The vagrant doesn't feel anything. He only sees the confusion of the old man in front of him. You are not the first. There were others? Too many. You killed them all? Yes. Why? I had to. The vagrant feels the approaching anger. That was all of it. Oh, what was all of it for? Can't read. Why did you help the war to continue after the death of its warriors? What did you so desperately want from the princes that you agreed to condemn so many souls to eternal damnation? You wouldn't understand. Tell me. Because of these wars, my love perished. You have to tell me. Sighed with displeasure, the necromancer creaks with his teeth. The princes promised me resources and their best men. Not for evil purposes. I studied life. I wanted to become immortal like one of my friends, to change the world the way he changed me. I would share eternity with those who I deem worthy. But no one followed me. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't. Most ended up in the army. Others were deprived of their liberty by the princes and kept under supervision. But why do you kill all the dead men? After all, those who you need may be among them. Now they are madmen. There is no one to save. You can't know for sure. You're doing the wrong thing. It is not for you to judge me. The vagrant feels like he is choking. He can't find the words. The necromancer gently bows his head. It doesn't matter now. The same fate is waiting for you, vagrant. His voice is soaked with indifference. You have met many who still remember themselves. You could have stayed with them. Your goal would be achieved. But you rejected everyone. Rejected because it is not loneliness that is your curse. You want to live again. Retrieve your body back. Return to those you loved. It will not happen. Bow down before me, for you are only an outlived memory. The necromancer raises his skinny hand, preparing to cast a spell. The song without words and without music is playing in the vagrant's head again. He freezes. The stars become brighter. Their light illuminates the fortress like the sun. The living ones would be blinded, but the vagrant feels warm. He sees black threads approaching him, the embodiment of the song, and ignores them. It's so warm. Light envelops, forces to drop the fear and all thoughts. Only calmness remains. What did the vagrant achieve? Who did he become? And did he become someone? It doesn't matter now. He wakes up. Her bright eyes are smiling. Her touch is soft. He kisses her, then rises lazily, rubbing his eyes. From outside of the window, there are sleepy talks and clatter. The streets are flooded with the light of the morning sun, and water glistens in the square's fountain. It's so peaceful that it's hard to believe. Where does it come from, the strange feeling of heaviness after a lost battle? It does not matter. It seems that it was a bad dream that disappeared from memory. It's for the best. In the garrison, soldiers and friends are waiting for him. He is happy. And in the silence, in the darkness of an abandoned fortress, a blind man leads a weak-willed dead man away. The end. Even if you knew you were sleeping, you would not care. Oblivion ending. Ooh. Wow. That ending was cool. I'm really happy. I got a little scared at first when it's like, he woke up and everything is happy and good. I was like, oh my God, please, please do not tell me that this was like all just a dream. Because as much as that can be fun in certain stories, I I way prefer that that was like all real, in this world. That it was all real and he just had like a last good memory before like being put to rest. I way prefer that other than like, oh, that was sad. Anyways, everything's fine. Like, I feel like it takes away like the gravity of it. So I'm really glad that didn't happen. And damn, it did feel like it went on a little long sometimes. Is very wordy, that's for sure. But honestly, the ending is kind of sick. At least that one. That ending is pretty sick. So what I'm going to do, is I actually let me check what because I wasn't able to read the full thing. Let me check. Okay, it says, even if you knew that you are sleeping, you would not care. After all, you're happy. Oh. I like that. I quite like that ending. I'm not gonna lie. I do want to see what the other endings are like, though. So I might look up and see if anyone posted, like, a walkthrough of it. I mean, it probably wouldn't be hard to find them on my own. There's only 3 other endings, but I just want to try and do it in, like, as little time as possible. So let me see just in case. Okay, I did find a guide. Some of the comments say some of the answers got changed or renamed and stuff, so I'm hoping it works, but let's try. So for one of the endings, it says to trust the feelings, and then it's gonna say to get in line again. Pop. And then it's gonna say to leave him alone at the next choice. Okay, leave him alone. From the heart of the city, chants can be heard. The vagrant walks over to the overgrown slabs and doesn't listen. Okay. So it just skips the dialogue where the guy, like, gets up and leaves. Okay. Gonna keep going. We're gonna find the dudes in here, and now we're just supposed to keep silent and not say anything to them. Keep silent. The dead men don't give the vagrant too much time. To see the doubt was enough for them. The first one stretches out his hand to the barrel and takes the little finger of the second one. He is not dead yet. It won't take long. It wasn't a threat, more like a statement of fact. Okay. Okay, that's the same. And then I'm supposed to keep silent again. Maybe they are right. The vagrant doesn't remember his name either, so what's the difference? The dead men get distracted by their previous victim. What will overgrown with moss faster? Here is clothes. Okay. So, same thing, except I am also supposed to keep silent yet again. These are not the ones he needs. The vagrant buries the sadness in himself. He must continue the search. A short silence is enough. The dead men understand his answer. Damn. That's kind of sad. They're just like, damn, okay. Okay, and I'm supposed to say it is. Strength leaves the vagrant. He feels pain and resentment for everything caused to him by others. For pure memory and loneliness, clenching the hilt of the sword, he repeats, life is a mistake. The warriors stay silent. Reflections of fire dance on the black steel of their armor, diverting attention from the heavy stairs. What do they need the fire for? Don't they despise it? Or maybe this is why they huddle around the bonfire as if they were still alive. They're testing their will, their spirit. Okay. Then it says to go your own way. So we do not join them. We keep going. This time we keep silent again. Behind the cold mask, the vagrant feels a smile. You all remember it. There are no names, no past, but each of you remembers the anthem. Okay. Okay, so I assume this is it because the answer says, what did he need? So I think it's this one. What was that he demanded? Justify such actions. And where am I? On the way to the necromancer. Song without words. Drops his sword. His way, his thoughts, decisions. He does not find the strength. The more he resists, the more he wants to give up. The road without beginning and without end. The road without meaning. Bitterness overcomes him. A penetrating, maddening sense of aimlessness. The desire to forget everything he saw, heard, and did. The vagrant, the nameless one that he was, and thus remained, impersonal. If only all of this could be over sooner. Silence covers him, puts him to sleep, and the vagrant stops looking as if, being alive, he allowed himself to close his eyes. The oncoming darkness is all-embracing and endless. It doesn't even need to beckon him. He freely falls into its arms. Soon there will be nothing left. The last moments are the visions of a warlike maiden. He finally has found peace. Okay, what does that one say? Agreeable end for a too long way. Pity that there is no one to build a grave for the vagrant. Damn. Okay, I got a little worried there that I did something wrong because it was all the same really up until the end. I'm wondering if the other ones will maybe be the same. So let's do that. Okay, I think this is different. In the last one, I probably have to cut it out because I thought I did all of the right choices to get another different ending, but then I got the same one as the RIP ending that I just got, and I was like, what the fuck did I do wrong? I'm an idiot because I didn't, like, start from the beginning and choose the right answers. So, whoops. Here we go. Bow down before me, for you're only an outlived memory. Necromancer. Okay, and that's the only choice. So no. A scream echoes off the stone walls. The vagrant frees himself from the invisible chains, breaks the music. He must punish his enemy. The necromancer growls dully, gets angry. His hands descend to the floor, skinny and frail, but from his fingers black threads are stretching. His main strength, the magic of death. He whispers, "Help me, my love." And the earth begins to tremble. The stones split, releasing something from the ground. The black bony figure rises to its full height. The dead man is dreadful. It is a giant assembled from variety of bones. In each hand he holds a sword. With a creak, the monster turns around to the vagrant. Then time splits into seconds. There is a fight which the vagrant had never had before. He retreats and defends, barely finding the strength to attack in response. Steel rings in the night. The vagrant falls under a heavy strike and takes advantage of the situation. He lifts his sword, and with several quick swings, crushes the legs of the monster. The mass of bones, kept together by magical threads, hits the ground. In silence, it moves idly, gathering its hands, then raises its head, and crawls towards the vagrant. The vagrant gives the ground a quick glance. Under his feet, bodies and abandoned weapons are lying. He grabs a bow from someone else's stagnated fingers and collects the arrows. He manages to aim, the body remembers the stance, and shoots straight into the monster's hands. The arrow struck the joints, causing the bony mass to lose control of one of its arms. The monster drops his sword. The same happens with his other hand, but he does not stop. Dropping the bow, the vagrant picks up a spear and launches it into the approaching monster. The tip lands between his eyes and splits the skull. The roar floods the hall. The monster crumbles into a mountain of bones, and suddenly, it becomes completely quiet. Without wasting a second, the vagrant rushes to the necromancer and places the blade of the sword next to his throat. Pity that he can't look into his enemy's eyes. "You cannot kill me. I will come for you." The vagrant hisses. With one easy move, he cuts open the necromancer's throat. He leaves a lifeless body among the dead men who have fallen in an everlasting dream, and leaves the fortress. The night greets him. Eternity. Isn't this what every mortal dreams about? Those who met so far have found their meaning in eternity. They had nothing, neither personality nor memory, and this did not stop them. But the vagrant remembers. Remembers the crunch of his bones when the enemy's steel plunged in his flesh. Remembers the pain and cry of despair. After this, darkness full of mindless rage. But he never remembered the name. Doesn't matter. He is different now, as if dust, ash, and death consumed him. He feels only them. All that remains is to continue the work of the executioners, to kill the living ones. Without allowing himself neither faith nor hope, with his fury he makes his way forward. One day his eternity will gain meaning too. One day. Ooh, what does that one say? You knew it would be like that. You hadn't expected anything good. Enjoy your pain. Damn, life is a mistake ending. Yeah, definitely not my favorite ending. I like that there was a cool fight scene. But yeah, that ending is like... Do I think the necromancer should be out willy-nilly doing whatever? No, but at least he is honestly kind of putting the undead people to rest because he found out he made a mistake, a rather large one. And even though he's really not that good of a guy, at least he's like, you know, maybe a bunch of undead dudes with like no purpose and just pain should just like be put to rest. Maybe they just need to chill. So, we have one more ending. Let me see. We have an ending called Vagrant. So I am going to start. I think a lot of these are different. So I'm gonna click through because the first choice is different. So instead of trusting the feeling, we're gonna focus on the path. The truth is only in the heart, and even if he no longer has a heart, he must go on. He must throw away his weaknesses, for his existence gained meaning. He measures seconds with his steps. Coal ash is spreading in all directions. Okay, cool. I think that's the same. This time we're also going to refuse to get in line. I am not looking for death. I am looking for those who remained themselves. I want to talk like I did when I was alive, to remember myself and to know that I live. You will have none of that. Have you ever tried? Get in line or go away. You can come with me. Why do you need to stay here? Why burn yourself if you still remember who you are? Go away. Ooh. Oh, that's different. It doesn't say... I don't think. Oh, no, it does. It says to go away. Okay, I was like, okay. They are enjoying it. They want to be with the fire, become the fire, forget everything. Neither life nor death are important as long as you have a goal. Their goal is to burn. No one can help them. Okay. And snatches life seconds from life along with the flesh. The vagrant feels older than he should. He doesn't like it. So he leaves. Alright, here we are. We're not bowing down to this guy. I think this will probably be the same, though, with the fight scene. After all, he once had a name, too. Now, a necromancer. I do not want to kill you. Just let me go. The blind man sighs heavily, unhappy, a little disappointed. But, apparently, he is disappointed with himself. What will you do with your freedom? I don't know yet, but I will not kill the living. I will not go crazy by remembering the past. These are just words. My mistake can cost people too much. Your mistake has already cost them too much. Don't take away from me the last thing I have. If I ever forget who I am, I will burn myself. This is an oath, and if I break it, you may pursue me with an army, sing to me again, and kill me, even if I ask for mercy. But now, let me go. The vagrant removes his sword and hides it in the sheath. The necromancer stays silent until the sky outside of the fortress begins to lighten. The blind man's body starts to fail. He gets tired. He sits on the ground, surrounded by bones whitened by time. A heavy sigh again. He doesn't look at the dead man. He releases him. Like that, they part ways. The vagrant leaves the fortress and goes out towards the weak dawn sun without knowing where to go now. Perhaps he will meet humans. Perhaps he will be able to become their friend. If not, he will hide somewhere. But he will live. All right, I got all endings. You won't be alone. The main thing is to go on. Wow! I'm happy that I think that's the best ending. That's the best ending for sure. It's the most, like, hopeful ending. Like, absolutely. Everything else was pretty bleak. Even the first ending I got, which I do like, I actually still really, I think that's my second favorite ending besides this one, where he has sort of that last dream before the necromancer leads him away. I think that's a really cool ending, but yeah, that one was much happier, and I love that for him. This was really cool. I wasn't expecting it to be that long. When it said short, I was like, oh, it's going to be like 20 minutes. Definitely longer than 20 minutes. Maybe also because I'm reading it out loud and stuff, but still, I think even if I wasn't reading it out loud, it's a lot longer than I thought it would be. And with 4 endings, that's pretty sick for a free game that took a lot more time than I anticipated, and with 4 different endings. This was really good. This was really cool. I'm not sure if the dev has any more games at the moment. Let me double check. Okay, so the developer does have another game. It is another fantasy visual novel. But it looks like it's a lot longer because I think I just saw it and it was $4.99. So it's not free. But this, I think, gives you a really good taste of sort of like, I assume, the developer's style and kind of like the fantasy world and kind of what's going on. I don't know if it takes place in the same kind of world, but you know what I mean, like fantasy stuff. And I love that. I love it a lot. This was really cool. I think the writing, even though there were some grammatical issues here and there, whatever. That's neither here nor there. The writing was beautiful. Was pretty wordy in some places. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's a visual novel. It's gonna be a lot of words probably, so I'm not too mad about that. If you're interested in this kind of thing, go get the dev's other game, I guess, because I certainly will be doing that at some point, so keep an eye out for that, but otherwise, that's really all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. If you did make it this far, please go ahead and subscribe. That was a lot of me reading. And if you watched all of that and you're not subscribed, what's going on here? What's the deal? That's kind of weird. Otherwise, all of my socials will also be down in the description if you'd like to follow me on any of those. Go ahead and like the video if you liked it. Share it with everybody and everybody if you so choose. In the meantime, before next week, do not sign a contract with a necromancer. It probably won't end up well. So don't do that. Also, maybe don't steal from a prince, because they probably will start a war, and that's not great. Okay, I promise that's it, though. Thank you guys again so much, and I hope that you all have a good one.